week's like episode, did you notice at all like you felt as though like you changed the way in which that you talk, knowing that you're recording like just an individual, did like
Yeah.
same way that you do a speech or like you have a presentation. I think people definitely do, and we all do, like a slight change in the way
Yeah.
your tone or the you know
I was definitely I was definitely more measured, and also I was recording on a
yeah.
Monday morning, and so it's like
Mm,
Ryan is working, and so I was like, he works from home. My roommate Ryan works from home every. We're recording, by the way. So my roommate Ryan works from home like a couple days a week, right? And like a lot of people.
yeah.
And so I was trying to be very mindful of him, and also at the same time, it's like, yeah, when I'm not having like a banter back and forth
Yep.
with you, you just get quieter naturally, because that's kind of like, why would I start exclaiming, or like why would I try to like, you're not talking back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I gotta look at these really quick. I just fucking realized that no, ducking is down, ducking is off, whatever, doesn't matter, it's fine,
Mm,
we're all fine,
we good.
we're good,
We
it's
good.
fine.
It's
I
I
just
feel
panicked, realized I didn't look at the audio settings before we started recording this.
you're like, oh no, not again.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's okay. It's gonna be fine. But yeah, no. So it was. I did notice that I was kind of talking really quiet, and then I think the last half of the episode I got a little bit more comfortable
Mm,
and started talking a little bit louder, but it was still pretty quiet. So
mm. It's like, why is that people don't like to hear the sound of their own voice on a recording?
I don't know
Like you hear that
because
a lot. People are like, oh my gosh, I hate the way I sound on my, voicemail. Which, I mean, does anybody actually leave a voicemail anymore? I do.
hi, you've reached the phone center of Kory McDonald. Call back or I fuck. I see. I can't even leave. I can't even.
Yes.
I can't even record a
I thought that was
message.
an odd sounding voicemail.
That
I
was
thought it was
really
going to be
bad.
more like, hey, you've reached Corey, just give me a message.
I also said
Shoot me a
phone
message.
center, and I feel like that's not a thing. I don't know why. A phone center is not a, well, it's
that
something, a call center.
that's actually going to be a thing we're going to have to explain too, if and when we ever have kids. Is like, oh
Mm,
yeah, do you remember when you had a voicemail and
yeah.
like you would actually leave those?
Remember when you called people?
Yeah.
Who does that anymore besides spam? I've got my, it's interesting, and you're probably similar to me. I used to have my phone like normal, and I get all these calls, and like you get spam calls. You also get calls from numbers you don't know, whether that's like, I don't know,
Oh
like
yeah.
your doctor's office calling you or whatever. And
Hey, did you vote yet?
yeah,
Like that kind of stuff.
shit. No,
Yeah.
oh my god, what day is it? But like I started putting my phone on do not disturb,
Mm-hmm.
and just I put like work people and like you and Meg, obviously, like and I allow X, like 20 people, 25 people to contact me via like through do not disturb. Otherwise it's just
Yes.
on D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had my phone just perpetually on D&D for the last like 6 months. So it's so interesting. Sometimes I will like need to get a phone call from someone, and I have to remember to like take it off of that, because I'm like, otherwise I'm not going to get that
Oh
call. Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's a nice function though. I do like that aspect where like I don't want my phone going off all the time. But if there are these select few individuals that kind of make that tier list almost, yeah, that's a nice little
It's a tier list of friends.
yeah.
It's a
Tier.
friend
I'm
friend
glad I
list.
made it. I
Yeah.
know I'm in the like hierarchy somewhere. I don't know where, but I'm just happy I'm in.
I got you. Am I in your
Yes,
tier? A
yes.
higher? Okay.
Oh, avid. Yeah, obviously. It's
All of a sudden,
it,
Corey opens his phone. There's just 14 messages from Corey. It's like, oh shit, that's right. I forgot to.
That's right.
How bad.
That is one thing I'm definitely trying to work on. Messaging back,
Having friends.
responding. No,
Oh,
well,
responding.
having
Yeah,
friends. Oh man, wow. Oh, so
that
hurt.
is true. Corey is. You're not. See,
I'm not. Yeah.
The thing is though, is like you could say, oh yeah, Corey's like bad at messaging back. But at the same time, that just probably shows you're not looking at your phone, which is kind of like what we all want to be able to do. You know.
Right. I don't know. It's a balancing act because like yes I do, and I think the like my closest friends and family, like they just understand that's a
We
way in
know.
which I'm gonna message, at least that kind of like style, rather than being like again always on my phone. But at the same time I'm like, there have been many instances where I'm like, oh shit, I should have responded to this like
Yeah.
way sooner than what I did. Like now I feel like a dick,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a weird little fine line. I actually try to actually put time restrictions on specific apps that I use. You were talking about
Mm.
ways in which that you can kind of only let select people be able to truly contact you and message you at any point in time throughout your day. I like to put time restrictions on certain apps so that it deters me from continuing to engage in that, like an Instagram,
Yeah,
Facebook, which sometimes gets hard because you might have to be using it like for work or
sure.
whatever else. But
What does it do when it does it just take you off, or does it just like force
it
quit?
yeah, I could be like scrolling through Instagram reels or something, and then all of a sudden it'll pop up on the screen. You've reached your limit, and you can put that limit and set it to like 30 minutes, an hour,
Sure.
4 hours, whatever.
I got like a weird
But
thought in my head from like, oh, you've reached your limit, pay $5 to continue. Like, like you've reached your limit of Instagram browsing. That, dude,
oh, that
do
would
you
be
think that's going to be a
nuts.
thing at some
I
point?
don't know. They probably will. I mean, if if the goal of those
Yeah,
corporations is to make money and continue to build upon that, and like we being the product in a lot of those, different
yeah.
media platforms, I don't know. I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't be a case where they have like a tier, kind of system to it, like like almost like a Lifetime Fitness, like oh nope, you're only a part of the
Yeah.
bronze
You're
package.
not the diamond
Yeah, you're
package.
not diamond,
You
bitch. Get out.
peasant. You're a peasant. Well,
You don't have your blue check mark. You're not verified. Oh
oh
wow.
God. Well,
Yeah,
so it's
you gotta
interesting
pay.
because like, so I don't know how
Can't you
many
pay for
like
that?
I don't know how many like phone games or like so there's a subset of like video games which essentially let's say like you're playing like a puzzle game on your phone or something like that
Mm,
and it's free to download, free to play. But you can only have but let's say it has like a currency of like you have got 3 stars and like you lose a
oh,
level and you lose a star, right? So it's like, okay, well, once you run your 3 stars, like it'll have a pop up message of like, wait 12 hours to get more stars, or you can pay
yeah,
$5 to get
yeah.
50 stars.
Uh huh.
And that's an entire subset of games, and they make so much money
Yeah.
on
Mm-hmm.
that shit because it's like why wouldn't I pay like and they're called microtransactions. So
Yes.
it's like why wouldn't I pay 99 cents to get 4 more lives, right? And then you
Yeah.
do that over and over and over
More
again,
lives.
and then all of a sudden it's like you get the bill at the end of the month and it's like I spent $54 on
No,
this game.
it's so funny you bring that up. My girlfriend's roommate, they're both fairly big gamers, and they were playing Fortnite. And one of her favorites is Fortnite. I've played it,
Fortnite,
yeah.
okay, let's go.
And I've played it a handful of times. I'm not a big gamer. Used to
Gen
be.
Z looking ass over
Oh,
here now. We got the what this
wait, yeah, Gen Z,
Gen Z is like
yeah,
the
yeah,
generation below us,
yeah,
younger than us. But
yeah.
that's they sometimes it's referred to as like the Fortnite generation. But yes,
Oh, well, I
continue your
guess that's
story.
also
Yeah.
fair. But yeah, like so Fortnite, I've played it a handful of times. I'm familiar with the game. But then anyways, she plays it quite frequently and is a avid gamer, which, hey, to each their own. But yeah, we were talking about this exact thing when she showed me different character outfits and
Hmm.
then different dances that she purchased through the virtual currency within the gaming system.
They
But
call them
that she,
cosmetics.
and I'm like, oh, I don't think I've ever
Hmm.
like for a phone game, for a video game, like purchased, like I've obviously bought the game,
Yeah.
but I didn't buy additional
Hmm.
stuff within the fucking game.
It's been
Like,
a
I'm like, I
relatively
don't want to pay for a dance move for
yeah.
a VR character that I'm like, what? I don't
Well,
know.
it's
I
been
just,
really interesting because like the monetization of video games has been like you used to, and that this is a very big tangent from this podcast, but you used to essentially go to a store, you buy the game in its entirety
yep.
for whatever dollars amount that was, and then you could come home and play it, and that was it, right?
Hmm.
But in the last like 15 years, 10 years, they a lot of the monetization options. So what you referred to as like a cosmetic option. So there's an idea in gaming that's called quote pay to win. And
Mm.
so in some games, you can pay money to get like imagine you're playing Skyrim because I know you used to play
Oh yeah.
Skyrim, so I know
Oh
you're
yeah.
familiar. So imagine, you're going through Skyrim and what's like a really weak weapon in Skyrim?
Just like just a base level sword or base
Yeah.
level bow and arrow.
Sure. Yeah, where it takes like, 15 hits to kill an enemy and
Yeah.
it's like, man, I'm not doing very well. So pay
Hmm.
to win is like you can pay with real money for like a +3 sword or like a sword that's all of a sudden
Mm.
like you're killing enemies in like
Yeah,
two
you went
hits.
from like a wood sword to now it's a iron sword, and then you can go to steel
Sure,
sword, and you could
yeah.
go to whatever diamond
And
sword.
you're paying real life money to get better at the game. So that's what we call
Yeah.
pay to win.
Mm.
In Fortnite and other games, they have a monetization which is like you can pay money, but it's all for cosmetics. So it's like um they're like we're not pay to win. You can't like pay to get better items, but you can pay to like have a new skin on your rifle that looks like it's like a blue camo. Like
Yeah.
you can pay to, and this is so many different games. It's not
Yeah.
Fortnite, just
Mhm.
Fortnite. But it's like you can pay to like you can have like your backpack be like a unicorn backpack or like whatever it
Yeah.
is, and that's how they get you. That's how they make money continuously through the game's existence.
That's see, and that's I mean, it's a really business savvy
Smart,
move. It
honestly.
makes
Yeah.
it makes so much sense because how many people already get sucked into game again? How much time do we spend on screens? You know, these
Hmm.
corporations are making, I mean, just ungodly amounts of money. And I mean, just from a human psyche standpoint, like there's so many people that get drawn into that fake reality and they want to like level. It's just an interesting thing where
Yeah.
they're leveling up their virtual character, meanwhile like they're sitting on the couch or something like that. I get it. I've played games, I've been super addicted to them, but I never got to the point where I played a
Hmm.
game or loved it so much that I was like also willing to invest further into it
Sure.
just for modifications on a fictitious character. It's like I don't give a shit. I don't know. I'll pick the ordinary dude. I'm not going to pay for the unicorn backpack.
I'll
I'm
pick the
good.
guy with the beard. That's
I'm
my guy
good.
right there.
Dude, that's honestly, yeah.
Well,
Skyrim, I first
beard
first
guy.
character I went an orc, or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, he had like the busy big grizzly beard.
Just talking to Meg about this
Were
stuff
you?
this morning. Yeah, but it's
Funny.
but it's interesting because like obviously it's very not consumer friendly
Yeah.
because you're like, but for the most part, people I think people don't pay for those things, but it's like every once in a while you'll have, a small subset of players that have a large amount of maybe income that they can devote to that because
Yeah.
they're not devoting it anywhere else.
Yeah. That's fair.
And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So, hello and welcome to Average Bros Gym podcast for your average host with the really similar names, Kory and Kory, walk you through fitness, health, and life advice, which seeks to meet you where you're at. No polarizing black and white takes, although we've definitely had a lot of those. No threatening you. Hopefully, you haven't done that, and telling you the only way to do things. Just genuine advice and good conversation. And that was an extended intro. That was about 5 minutes long.
Oh, definitely worth the listen.
Love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and as you can see, Kory's back. If you're watching us on YouTube's, Kory's back in action. He's here. He spent the week away from us in Sedona, Arizona, and man,
said that.
and so this is funny because Kory was like, we were texting before we started this pod a couple days ago, and he was like, man, I can't wait to tell you all everything happened. I can't talk about this. And I was like, don't fucking say anything. I didn't say that, but I said, don't say anything because I want to hear all about it on the pod and have it be like fresh. So this podcast is ruining our friendship. So continue, Kory.
Oh boy.
No, Kory, continue. So how was Arizona, man?
Oh, Arizona was incredible. I'm not the most well-traveled individual that you'll meet. I've done my fair share just throughout the continental United States. I've been out of the country once. Colombia, which was incredible. My addiction to coffee became very prevalent there.
We're both drinking coffee right now.
I'm currently sipping on a nitro
both.
cold brew.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I know, I'm hooked. Very hooked. Do they have these at Quick Trip now? I'm stoked.
God damn. Quick Trip is underrated. Well, maybe it's.
Oh,
maybe
no,
it's
I was
properly
at
rated.
best gas station, hands down, in my opinion.
It's properly rated then. Never mind. Okay, continue.
But yeah, no, Arizona, it was cool to go to a location that so many people have ventured to. So many people will be like, oh yeah, where are you going? Arizona. At least for Minnesota and the individuals that I meet. And to know you have such beautiful area there in terms of the landscape, and to see something so different than what you typically experience within Minnesota. And I've more traveled East Coast.
Yeah.
During my travels to
You lived in Boston for a while as well. Yeah.
Yep, lived in Boston, been in New Hampshire, been to Rhode Island.
East, okay.
Yeah, so very northeast. But never have been out west. And so this was my first venture out there. And yeah, the first day that we got in, we stayed in Mesa. My girlfriend and I, she's got some family there, so that's obviously as to why we were, traveling, and also just to experience it. And did some hiking up Camelback, which was a pretty tough little trek right there. Like you actually had to like boulder up on these rocks. We then made it up to Sedona on Saturday. We were going to go up to this iconic venture. It was like Cathedral Rock. Unfortunately, it was closed down due to some trail renovations, you could say. So on Saturday, we woke up, we're super excited. We get all the way up to the base of this Cathedral Rock, and then we see that sign. It's like, oh man. So we start the day kind of starts at a little bit more of a lull, and then we get on to Soldier's Pass. And for anybody that has been out there, Soldier's Pass is a beautiful, I want to say it was like 6 to 8 mile long trail all through the Red Rock. We got to see a cave, and you're just looking over that landscape. We got up to Devil's Bridge, another iconic location out there in Arizona. And there's a couple stories that we could go down, but I'll save everyone some time. Either way, Arizona, for the landscape, everything of what I had wanted it to be and what I thought it was going to be, it met and surpassed that expectation. We even had snowfall on Sunday morning.
That. So you guys were up in the mountains, then for sure.
What Flagstaff is.
Okay.
Yep. So we had Saturday in Sedona, and then we stayed in Flagstaff that Saturday night and also Sunday. On Sunday morning, I think I remember saying on a previous episode here that we were really excited to go do a trail run around the south rim of the Grand Canyon on Sunday morning. And so Saturday, after having hiked Soldier's Pass, did the, Devil's Bridge, we sprinted to get to the last shuttle, the last mile. That's a hilarious little
So
part.
you have to take a shuttle to get to those areas.
So while you're in Arizona, there's a multitude of different trails in which that you can take, and it's all you can transport yourself just via the free shuttle service there, and it runs on, every maybe 15 half hour 45-minute kind of rotation and schedule. So it makes it very convenient for somebody that wants to go for multiple trails in that area to just, oh cool, the next bus is coming at 4:15, that can take us up to point B, that can get us onto this trail.
Sure.
And then you're off and running all day, all weekend, however long you want. After we had gotten back from the Devil's Bridge, we looked down at our watch, and we were about a mile and a half out.
Kory just looked down at his Whoop band, which, if you don't know, does not have any watch face whatsoever. Continue.
That was more or less for the idea of like, hey, in that moment, we were looking at our watches, all right? So we looked down at our watches.
Yeah, of course. Not your Whoop bands.
I wasn't even wearing one either at that time. I was just looking at my Whoop just for the dramatic impact.
We all got phones, right?
But we saw that we were like just a little over a mile away from the shuttle, and we had 12 minutes to be able to make it there. And after hiking 8 miles on this Soldier Pass all day in the sun, long day of travel the day before, we just kind of looked at each other like we can make it.
Do you have hiking boots on at this point?
I have hiking boots on. She's got some running shoes that she had on that were just wrecking her feet. She had just bought them. She never really had worn them, and so they were new, and turns out her feet didn't really like them. So anyways,
turns out
we're just a long day, and it was beautiful, but we just looked down in that moment. We're like, well, fuck, all right, because if we miss, there's a shuttle coming at it was like 4:15.
Yeah.
We were a little over a mile away. We had 12 minutes in which if we could get there, because the next shuttle didn't come up until like 5. So it was like either one, we could just, hey, let's just let it go. We'll just walk back, and just be able to kind of chill for about a half hour before the last shuttle. Getting on in the night kind of impacts the plans. Otherwise, it was like, yo, we can get this one, but this mile's like going to hurt a little bit. And we just were kind of like, all right,
sounds
fuck
right
it.
Up your alley.
Yeah. Oh, that was a grind. Like after the 8 miles around like Soldier's Pass and everything, to like literally run that last mile. Like it was not a just leisurely jog. Like we had to hoof it. We come up, and you're going through this just like rocky, dry, dirt terrain. You're already sweaty. There's dust because ATVs are coming by. So dust is in your mouth as it's blowing through the fucking wind. The sun's beating down on you. You're huffing and puffing because you got elevation that you're already trying to go through. And you've already done all the elevation earlier on the trail. We're getting up to the final crest of this fucking hill. I'm fucking dying. She's already maybe about 20 yards behind me. I'm looking down at my watch, my fictitious watch, again, the Whoop one.
Okay. And I don't know what time it is. Oh my God, we gotta keep going.
And we get up to this crest, and I can hear Michaela like calling from. She's like, "Can you see the shuttle?" And I literally see the shuttle coming up and is just about to turn into the parking section where it picks up all the people waiting. And I was like, we gotta fucking go now. Like, yes, it's right here.
Yeah.
We finally made it. And there was the most satisfying experience being able to get on the bus, plop down, and just, you're doing those heavy breaths into your chest. Like you had nothing left. And then to be able to sip on that just like water that they had available to you on the bus, and just those bottles, and just grab one quick, crack that. I was like, holy shit, that was so worth it.
Anybody else like kind of running like you guys
No, it
were?
was
Yeah.
just us. Like we
Okay.
were the only
Right,
psychos
right.
that were trying to make it from Devil's Bridge to the 415 shuttle, and it was fucking worth it. But yeah, we got up to Flagstaff that night. It was a beautiful little area that we stayed within, and the next morning we were like, hey, well, let's do this shuttle run down at the south rim of the Grand Canyon. I'd been looking forward to it, and we were informed that there was a potential snowstorm that was going to be rolling through. And we were talking to some of the locals that were at the location, and they were like, yeah, probably don't read too much into it. It's already like 7, 8 p.m. at night, and we're looking outside. Not a single snowflake had hit the ground yet. They're like, yeah, they're probably overreacting a little bit. We're probably not going to get
So
nothing.
here's the thing. You're trusting a native Arizonian about snowfall? Kory, you're a Minnesotan,
I
damn it.
know.
You know better. Continue.
And so we were like,
Sorry,
hey,
Tevin.
yeah,
Go.
we'll we'll play it by ear. We just kind of went to bed that night after having a nice little dinner, good little relaxing evening, and we wake up the following morning, and I was like a little kid on Christmas almost. I was excited to see, like, all right, are we going to be able to go, or what's it going to be? And I draw the blinds back, and then already outside, it was 4 to 6 inches that had like covered the ground, and it was the snowfall where it just watching it made you feel really calm and at peace. It was just like,
Mm-hmm.
this is so beautiful. You're in Flagstaff, you have the pine trees, everything up there, the entire ground, everything looks like it's just covered in icing, just like icing on a cake, everything. We went down, we had a hot cup of coffee, just kind of discussed what our plans were going to be. We're like, well, we don't want to drive up the hour and a half to Grand Canyon. This is beautiful right now. Why don't we just head back down to Sedona? And by the time we had lunch back down in Sedona, where we just decided to have our more low key Sunday morning, the snow was already gone. By the time we were driving back up to Flagstaff, it had already gotten hot enough that all of that snowfall
Yeah.
melted away, and it almost felt like he had 2 days rolled into one. It
Mm-hmm.
was beautiful. So yeah, for anybody that's been to Arizona, I can definitely understand the appeal
Sure.
for sure.
Well, I remember when I was in Phoenix and I was there over New Year's Eve like week essentially. So I think I was there from like December 26th, 27th through over the holiday. And I remember like I had never been to Arizona, and like you're saying, like you wake up and it's like 30 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's awfully chilly. And then, you'd go to breakfast, you'd leave breakfast, and then 2 hours after you woke up, 3 hours after you woke up, it was like 75, 80. You're like, oh, okay, cool. It's like it's gonna happen now. Like it's just bizarre weather, at least from a Minnesotan experience. Obviously, it's the desert, so like that is gonna that happens. But it's very interesting to think about that.
Mm-hmm. What it was so funny too, because on that Sunday when we got the snowfall, there were so many people that were, and her family, I guess I should say in particular, were like, "Oh my gosh, we wish you guys just had better weather." And I'm sitting there as like a Minnesota, I'm like, I fucking love this. This is great because we haven't had anything for winter this year, and to see that type of snowfall in Sedona. So when we drove down and that snow covering all the red rocks down there, I mean, it was stunning. And then let alone at night, you'd see the stars just light up the sky. Yeah, Sedona, very cool. Definitely want to check that out. Have you ever been, you said, to?
I've been to so when I was there my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And it was the winter leading into the baseball season. Like so a friend of mine and a teammate of mine, Nico, went down, stayed with the hitting coach there, and we did like a camp in Arizona over the week. So we were there over like late December, very early January.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we were just in the Phoenix area. I think we might have been around Tempe as well. I could be getting it completely wrong, but I thought I remember us driving past Arizona State University.
Okay.
But it could have been something else. It could have been another building. I don't know.
Didn't do any hiking or anything? Or?
No, we were. So okay. we were. It was basically like, so we were staying with a hitting coach of ours, and we would. Our regimen was pretty much wake up, breakfast, go to the fields. We had our baseball camp pretty much all day. We'd come back, eat. We would go to the hitting coach worked with several area players. And so we would go to then one of the area players' houses, and they had a batting cage in the backyard.
Mm.
And so we would wake up, breakfast, go to this camp, work with different coaches from around the country, play, like, have games, whatever, drills,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. They called me Soda because Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
so, which is
Yep.
actually more syllables than my normal name, so it's actually longer, but it's easier to say than Croy sometimes,
Fair.
maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and so we would, and then we would, would camp was over, then we would go back to this other guy's house, and we would,
Mm.
like, take batting practice all night.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
Gotcha.
we didn't. It wasn't like I had the autonomy to,
Yeah.
like, go do other things.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty regimented, but it was a very fun trip, just from, like, the experience that I had. Like, there was one time, this was back in high school, so this was 2008, 2009, because it would have been 2008 December, 2009 January, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, it was one time. You were playing with a lot of other, guys that were junior seniors, right? So we were
Mm-hmm.
we were all, like, essentially here trying to not only improve, but also kind of, like, get scouted a little bit. And so then we would go back and just take batting practice. And I remember one night we were taking batting practice, and this was 4 years post Anchorman. So
Mm.
the movie the movie with Will
I
Ferrell
love
and,
how you
yeah.
date it based off of just like comedy movies.
Well,
Like,
it's because, like, if you go back and watch Anchorman now, like, 20 years later, there's probably some jokes in there. You're like, it's a little bit raw, like, maybe a little bit too much, or maybe it's not as funny because you've seen it so many times.
mm,
But it was still relatively fresh, and we were also, 17 years old, so it was really funny to us.
oh god, yeah.
And I remember, like, one night we were taking batting practice, and it was four of us, and plus the coach. And the coach is like, has no idea what the fuck we're talking about, because he's like a 65-year-old dude, or 60, whatever. He's like,
He
he's an
didn't
older
stay
guy.
current. He didn't stay
No
current.
idea. And we were quoting. There was a span of like 10 minutes where we didn't speak in anything but Anchorman quotes.
Oh, those are the best.
Oh, it was
Oh,
great.
when you and some buddies can
Yeah,
just get on some good riffs like that, like we've had our fair share
yeah.
for sure. There's almost nothing better.
It's great. It very much reminds me of those moments, and it was just like,
uh,
I remember this guy. He was this guy Chad. He was a Chad Zuniga. He was a local player of the area, and he was a catcher. And, like, but I remember just us hitting batting practice. I remember Chad was in the cage hitting batting practice, and at one point he was just laughing so hard he couldn't continue swinging. And the coach is sitting there like, "What are you guys doing?" And kind of like he was kind of cracking up too, though. I think he was laughing at us laughing. You know what I
yes,
mean?
yes. Oh, that's a thing for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, that was a really good moment. But that was like some very, very 17-year-old thing to do.
Oh,
And I'm sure, it's not just a guy thing. I'm sure that women have
oh,
the same
for
thing with
sure.
whatever movies they're laughing about. But, like, for guys, for us 17-year-old dudes, it was Anchorman, just kind of quoting that movie over and over again. And I'm
Oh,
sure we could still do it now.
oh, the best part is like everyone listening knows that they have that movie or something like that they reference.
Yeah.
Like Anchorman's a great one. Dumb and Dumber is one of my favorites. Or Super Troopers. You get some of those comedies
Oh
that
yeah.
you just know verbatim the entire script, line for line, every scene, like to the point that you also recite it
Yeah.
in the exact cadence with the exact inflection. Like,
Well, Corey, 60% of the time, it works every time.
oh, that's some good Sex Panther right
That
there.
doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
It's illegal in 9 different countries. Made with bits of real panthers, so it's good.
That's one I haven't seen in a minute.
I
I
saw
gotta go.
I saw Anchorman 2, and that was actually probably
Star-studded
worse as
cast.
far as, like,
Anchorman 2.
well, it was a worse movie, but it was also worse as far as, like, jokes, because they introduced, like, a racial component to it, and it was like, I think
Mm.
it was too much of that at too late of a time, and it would just, like, the jokes weren't really very funny, but it was interesting concept, and I think there was still parts that were funny, but it's just that original one, I think, because
Yeah.
it was so different than what you had any other time
Well, and I
in that
think that
sphere.
that's I feel like that's kind of common with comedy movies. Is
Yeah.
that I should say especially comedy movies. Like I can name other movies where like the second uh film was
Yeah.
arguably better than that of the first, but
Dune, people say. I
yeah,
haven't seen it.
I've heard phenomenal things about
Yeah.
Dune. I've never actually seen it, and I'm kind of curious about it. I just don't know if I get into that like sci-fi area as much.
Yeah.
So I mean, TBD on if and when I do
You
decide to
probably
give it a
like
rip.
it. We're gonna have a lot of people. Well, we probably won't because we don't have that many listeners. So we're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be like, "Man, we love Dune. Like,
Oh
you gotta
yeah.
see it."
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. So Dune would be one, or you could get like the Dark Knight and
Mhm.
Batman. You can get the Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potters. But
Oh
again,
yeah, Two
what's a
Towers. Oh
common
yeah,
theme between that is like it's usually not a comedy movie. Like
sure.
nobody's gonna say Dumb and Dumber 2 is better than Dumb and Dumber. No, it's not. Like
And
usually
yeah,
comedy movies, it's always the first one is kind of the best one. I did hear that they might be coming back with Dodgeball. And if they do that with Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn and that whole crew, I'll definitely be giving that a watch. But
I think it's interesting because they try to, man, for that stuff, man. I don't know if I'd want to see it because it's like
mm,
the original one is so like kind of classic in your head. It's like, do I really want to? Not that you're ruining the memory, but it's like,
yeah,
do I want to experience that again? I think you're right.
mm-hmm,
It is a very much a comedy thing where it's hard to replicate
yeah,
because I think that with comedy, it's obviously like people will say, oh yeah, comedy is all about timing, right?
yeah,
I think with like comedic cadence, what you talked about, the way people say things when they say them, and
mm-hmm.
like in what I don't know, and the tone of whatever, all of that
Oh
makes a
yeah,
difference. And a lot of comedy too, a lot of comedy movies are ad libbed.
mm-hmm.
It's not like the entire movie, obviously, but like there are a lot of scenes that they'll take 40 different takes
Yes, yeah,
and Will Ferrell is saying a different thing in every single one of them,
mm-hmm.
and then they're trying to find the best one.
Those are the best too.
And I think that once you've seen that style, once you've seen that movie, it's hard to see it again the second time because also like they can't do the same exact thing and
Mm-hmm.
expect the same results. So it
Mm-hmm.
is almost. I feel like it's kind of tougher for comedies. I think you're right because like
Mm-hmm.
Anchorman 2, I think was very similar, but a lot of the times in comedy sequels, they will try to take the premise of the first one and make it even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then it's like they expect that with more insanity for the plot
Mm-hmm.
and more complexity in the plot, it's going to be funnier because it's more outrageous. And it's like that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes too much is too much.
Yep.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
very much a person that's like I can't deal with too much. If a plot is too over the top, if the comedy
Yeah.
is like too over the top, like a lot of comedies are like, let's take a very ordinary scenario, but because the characters are so wild, they
Mm-hmm.
react to it completely out of line, and then that's where the comedy is. And I that kind of doesn't has never gotten to me.
Yeah. It definitely evolves. I feel my relationship with comedy movies in particular, like what you find funny as a kid versus what you find funny as a high schooler, and what you kind of find funny now, and the ways in which that you can be able to recognize like a little bit deeper thought process when it comes to like their comedy rather than like the slapstick type of humor
Yeah.
or something like that that you just giggle at. And I still do. Like every now and again there might be a good Adam Sandler movie that pops on where it's like, again, just the classic comedy bits, and it's more of just in your face like, oh yeah, he got hit in the face with the door that like swung open kind of too fast, or like the more thought-provoking kind of comedy, a little bit deeper. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, either way, comedy movies definitely evolve. But
they do.
uh I was gonna also tell you that if you have yet to see Chris Stapleton, do check him
Yeah.
out.
So Kory also went to see Chris Stapleton last night. How was that, Kory?
Phenomenal. It was a bucket list item I got to check off, which was pretty cool.
Chris. So this was at the U.S. Bank Stadium. This was in Minneapolis last night.
Last
If
night.
you're listening to this, you might have seen it as well.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
he's a country artist
Yeah.
ish
Mm-hmm.
person. Okay.
Yeah.
He did Tennessee Whiskey, correct?
That would be his, yeah, iconic song.
Okay, because I saw the T-Pain version of that when he did his concert. And if you look it up, I mean, obviously Chris Stapleton's version is amazing. And then I watched T-Pain. I think,
Oh, I know which one you're talking
yeah.
about now, though.
And part of that was I think that because people didn't really have that idea of T-Pain before he did that, and then he's like, oh, he can actually like it's not
Yeah, he
auto
can
like.
actually sing.
And it's interesting because he was kind of saying in one of his he streams on Twitch, and he was saying at
Oh.
one point like, yeah, like auto tune is just an effect. Like it's not like it covers things up. It's like this is just what you use for something. And so it's like he's an actually amazing vocalist.
Mm,
But yes, tell us about Chris
yeah.
Stapleton.
No, it was just after our Arizona trip, we got back and we were trying to figure out, kind of a little game plan for the weekend. And then all of a sudden, Kale just brought up, like, oh, yeah, by the way, Stapleton is playing tomorrow night at US Bank Stadium.
You
Like,
also got tickets, damn.
yeah. And so the place was absolutely jam packed. It was just cool to be able to be one at that venue. You get to see a musical artist who, in every genre, everyone is going to know Stapleton. He's on the same tier of a Mariah Carey, a Whitney Houston, where it's that voice is so iconic.
In the country sphere, you're saying?
Yeah, in
Sure.
Stapleton's country,
Because
yeah,
like Mariah
Stapleton,
Carey is known
my
by like everybody.
exactly. So you get, but like those people where it's
Yeah, yeah.
like, oh wow, everyone within that industry knows that they have a phenomenal voice. I mean, he's a multiple time Grammy nominee or award winner, all of those things. And again, just to be a huge fan of his music, but to be able to see that level of just greatness in real time was phenomenal. Like it'd be this equivalent of seeing a Jordan play in Caton Clark in music. For me, that was being able to see Stapleton last night. I mean, what he can do with his voice is I don't know. It's almost like unprecedented. Like the notes that he can hit, like the vibrato that'll have, like those little like falls that he can do with his voice. And the band is obviously just phenomenal. They had a harmonica player there that played with Willie Nelson for like 45 years. And it was just like all those little things that kind of went into the entire performance that it was. I mean, there was moments where I'm just like sitting there jamming out, having the time of my life. Other times where the music hits you so hard that you're like, I'm actually touched right now, and you get like those tears kind of welling up in your
Tennessee
eyes.
whiskey makes
I
me
mean,
like
holy shit.
cry.
It's
Yeah, it really does. It's a beautiful song.
oh my, and then when you have a stadium like that, that's all, the lights are up, everybody's singing along. He'll take like a break all of a sudden on one of the verses of Tennessee whiskey, and you could just hear the whole stadium erupt. I hadn't been to a concert in probably about a good 8 to 10 years. The last one I would have went to would have been Mumford and Sons in Boston, which was another iconic concert that I remember seeing. But Stapleton, yeah, it was really cool to be able to check that one off the list. His voice was just incredible. I think for everybody that didn't know or was aware of Stapleton, when he did the Super Bowl national anthem a couple years back, I think it was the Philadelphia and Chiefs one. People were like, "Holy shit, that dude can sing!" Yeah, that was cool. It was cool.
I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you had a good time. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back and talk about some things about fitness and health and
Yes.
wellness and all the things. And don't worry, Kory, because I'm going to edit all of this out so we can just take a breath and talk. So.
And you were talking about like aspects of like health and just how did you frame it?
It's like, so basically like what does,
Because your body, like you're physically capable and
Yeah.
able right now, and
Sure.
having that, you're saying that luxury as where we're at right now,
like
being
kind of like, what does that do for you? So like what
oh gosh,
does what does being able to, like, outside of the gym? So think about like, okay, cool, yes, we're putting in this work outside the gym, we're exercising, we're working on our health. Yes, a lot of that is like, okay, so I want to feel better and I want to be able to like look a certain way. But like outside of the gym, like what are these things that you work on, that you like to do, that allow you to actually live your life the way you want to, and that your fitness plays a massive role in, right? And for you, it's like, can you imagine if you had not been, as physically fit as you are, or just like had not been working on your cardiovascular fitness, if you didn't have the leg strength, the mobility to be able to do that mile to that shuttle in like 12, that mile plus in like 12 minutes, and what that looks like. And it's like, that is something that obviously you don't like necessarily want to do. That's like, oh shit, I gotta go. But like, how does being physically active, and how do your hours spent in the gym translate to how you want to live your life outside of the gym?
Oh my god, like in I keep that very top of mind throughout every day, where I recognize that the time, effort, energy, discipline that I'm demonstrating within the gym and outside of the gym in relation to that of keeping up my physical health and fitness, so that it then allows me to enjoy time with family and friends, and to be able to do the activities that I want to do for a long, long, long time. Like this isn't something where, and I think a lot of people got to take that in consideration too when it comes to their training is, all right, what do you want to train like for health, longevity, increase your health span. Again, the quality years of your life, not just lifespan. Cool, live to 100, but if the last 20 plus are spent in like severe chronic illness, that sucks. Or I want to be able to live up until like I'm 80 and 90 and still be doing all the things like hiking and biking and climbing and going to Sedona and doing that trip. We kept that very top of mind all throughout those days, where we were very appreciative for the fact that our bodies, when we wanted them to, could perform to that ability. Again, a lot of that is taking into consideration, recognizing the fact that I'm 30 years old. It is always
You
context
old
dependent,
son of a.
you know.
You grandpa.
And it's like, but again, age is going to play a factor at some point in time. Your body's naturally going to start to break down. You're going to start to slow down. You're going to lose potentially a little bit of mobility and strength and power and agility, quickness. Your proprioception is going to go down a little bit. It just is all part of the process. I'm just trying to push that shit off as long as I can. I'm pushing off the nursing home as long as I can to be able to do these activities. So when we came across people that were in their 50s and 60s on these hikes, it's like, that's the goal. Like the person who is very physically fit and healthy within in their like 50s right now is like very much an anomaly in my mind. I don't see a whole lot of 50, 60 somethings like, wow, you are killing it. Because it is it's such a stark contrast between the individuals that really prioritize their health and wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally, all those play a part, but definitely physically, where wow, your body is so vastly removed. And I know you guys have like the same age, but this person A, is operating at like more of like a individual who's like 45 years of age. You're on the other hand operating at somebody who's like 70. It's like it can be such a stark contrast there. It's so incredibly important.
Well, it's interesting because, we've got, so there's a newer member at Orange Theory right now, and I won't say the name or anything like that, but she's 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
70.
That's awesome.
And it's like, excellent, and, in excellent shape. Like, when I will be entirely honest, when I have someone that comes in and they're to that age,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very cautious. So we always, for a new member, we always are like on them like a hawk, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it's their first time. I want to make sure that everything's going well. Like, how do they look? What's their form look like? What's their movement look like? What are they able to do? What are they not able to do? What weights are they using? Things like that, right? We're very, very on them.
Mm-hmm.
And she was fucking killing it.
Yeah.
She took her first class with Doug, and Doug is one of our coaches at Orange Theory, who himself was in his 50s. And he comes out and he's like, she is killing it.
Mm-hmm.
She's killing it. And so, but that doesn't just obviously happen, right? That is a long period of time where this person hasn't been investing in their health in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And that can look a lot of different ways. And I had talked with her beforehand, and she said, well, yeah, I do this twice a week, and I do, this stuff, 4 to 5 times a week. And it's like, that wasn't just something she picked up and did when she was probably turned 60. She's like probably been doing similar things throughout her entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of issues that are going to be genetic, right? Like you're going to have certain things that maybe hold you back. But the idea is that the movement that we put in this gym, or like the Pilates studio or the yoga studio, or the trails outside, or whatever movement you're putting in allows you to live that extra life. Like Orange Theory used to have the slogan, the tagline of like more life.
Mm-hmm.
And while I think it's kind of like a funny slogan, it does give you this idea of like, hey, fitness is in itself, like in itself valuable, inherently important. And the idea is to get to a point where you have intrinsic motivation. So there's intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is doing something for the enjoyment of it, or because like you see purpose and value in it, and in the thing itself. Extrinsic is like, I'm working out so that I can have a six pack or whatever that is. And typically people get into things doing extrinsic motivation, right? I am, I'm working out because I want a six pack, or I am studying because I want to get a good job, or whatever that is. And then, intrinsic motivation, like when it starts to merge into that, when you start doing it because you enjoy it, that breeds a long-term success. Forgot entirely where I was going with this. What was I just saying? Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And I was saying doing things
Well, I think in terms
Damn it, I
of,
fucking forgot what I was gonna say.
well, I think where you were going was with the intrinsic motivation piece. Uh, that if we are going to be able to make this a lifelong endeavor, health and fitness, and
Sure.
prioritizing that, um, that yeah, you can have some external goals to be able to work towards. That's going to be great. But ultimately, like when you see people who are crushing it in the gym and within their health and fitness, they've prioritized it to such a large extent, maintained enough discipline to keep that routine. And they do it now because they enjoy the aspect of like being able to use their body. It's like they want to maintain that function. They want to be able to maintain that strength because they do recognize and understand how important that is. And when you get to the point where you're like, oh yeah, taking like the rest day is a little bit of the more challenging aspect of things, like
Hmm.
you're probably doing really well. And when you have a good balance between sticking with, let's say, like a program or something that you want to be able to work towards and what you want your body to be able to do, and throwing in those days also where you're like, all right, my body's a little bit beat up and I want to do what feels good, but movement, some form of movement, be that walking, be that climbing, be that bouldering or whatever, um, getting out on the trail, finding those things where you can incorporate movement daily in your in your
Hmm.
life is going to be so incredibly important.
One, it's like I think I remember what I was trying to say. So, and I think like it'd be great, like you said, to have a world where we were all intrinsically motivated. And I think like there's variations of it, right?
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, I'm 100% intrinsic. You might be like 50%. You might be like, yeah, it's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see the connection between the extrinsic and the intrinsic enough, I think that keeps you going.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you intrinsically value or intrinsically motivated by being able to like play with your kids or be physically active with your children or your whatever, if that's your motivation, then even if you don't like fitness, that keeps you coming in because you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I am so driven to be able to be there for my kids and grandkids, like picking them up, squatting with
Mm-hmm.
them, playing with them in like a physical way. I'm so motivated by this, and I so want to do this
Mm-hmm.
that like I will not put up with, but kind of I will tolerate or I will maintain a fitness routine because I know that that is going to give me more time with my kids,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's also okay too. Like you don't like the thing is like me and Corey love fitness. I love the fucking pump, man. I love the pump. I love Corey loves pushing himself to the absolute limit and like dying on it. Like is that true? Like do you really like you love like CrossFit is your thing? Like
CrossFit, and I've very much been enjoying these trail runs.
yeah,
I do have to say that I could, depending how well this goes up in Duluth in October, there might be
keep it be a
some
thing. Sure.
there might be some eventual like 100Ks or like, hey, let's really get out there for a while. But again, we'll see. I but like
Yeah.
yeah, I do like pushing pushing my limits, that very uncomfortable feeling, and every yeah, but like the pump per se, it's kind of fun.
Hmm.
Um I've been incorporating some of those lifts every now and again, but I've never really been partial to that of just like a hypertrophy or like bodybuilding
Yeah.
split, quote unquote, the pump.
I'm
You
I'm
know,
more of a
yeah,
bodybuilding. I enjoy that training a little bit more
training
so,
style.
and I think you enjoy the more CrossFit, Metcon, like you enjoy. I think you enjoy like the peaks more
Mm-hmm.
of fitness as far as intensity goes. Like not to say that doesn't happen in bodybuilding. Like you ever try to do
Oh
fucking a
gosh,
set of like 20 with it?
a
Yeah,
fucking drop set.
yeah.
Oh
Oh god.
god, or
But
some
I
shit.
think it is different
Bulgarian split squats.
in like how you how you like what you gravitate towards, I guess.
Yeah,
But like so we love fitness and we love exercise in maybe always a different fashion because like
it does change. It evolves.
I've done Pilates classes and I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like, but I think we enjoy that aspect of it, and there will be people, and you might be one of them, dear listener, who will never enjoy fitness intrinsically or inherently or like to the degree that maybe someone else does, and that's okay. But I think what I want to get across, we want to get across here is like, look for that extra, look for that piece outside of fitness that you are motivated by intrinsically, whether that is travel. A lot of people doing what you did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Traveling to Arizona and not just traveling to Arizona and like being on a street somewhere, like
Mm-hmm.
traveling to Arizona or any other state, I guess, or any other place, and being able to do the outdoor activities,
Yeah.
right? You have so much natural beauty. You have so many national parks, state parks. Like I think if that's a prime motivator for you, if you want to see that, then like that fitness routine is very important. And we've had
Mhm.
people that I remember in like years and years ago, we had a member that was traveling to Mount Kilimanjaro in
Oh,
Africa and like
yeah.
wanted to be able to do certain hikes there, and she was really training for that. We've
Mhm.
had people that um, are going to other locations. Like we have members that travel to like Utah or like a lot of. So Kory mentioned it earlier, but we had a lot of people that there wasn't a lot of snow this year,
Oh, yeah.
and we had a lot of people that I was members that I was talking to that were like, I'm going to like Utah or like Colorado to work on my skiing. But like skiing is their thing or snowboarding is their
Mhm.
thing, but
Mhm.
they're maintaining a fitness routine here, even if that's not their favorite thing in the world,
Yep.
to be able to do
Mhm.
their favorite thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well, and I think if somebody out there is then listening and it's like, oh yeah, I've never liked fitness. I've never really liked exercising. I find that hard to believe. I can imagine like maybe you haven't discovered it yet,
Mm.
but it's there. There's something there. There's got to be an activity, something you enjoy doing that is going to move your body. Like no one is going to say that like, oh, my favorite activity if I could just do nothing for the rest of my life would just be to sit and watch TV. I'm like, ah, man, that's going to be rough.
Have you
Um,
seen the new catalog on Netflix? I'm just kidding.
but there's got to be some activity that you enjoy: walking, biking, running, hiking, whatever. There's something, could be fucking bocce ball, I don't know. Join a club, get out on like Saturdays if you really enjoy that game. Badminton, a lot of people like games. How many people go through middle school, high school, they're all playing sports in multiple seasons, and then the moment that all of a sudden they like stop school and then get into the workforce, so many of them potentially a lot will like gain some weight like the previous athlete
Happens
all the
all the
time,
time,
and
all
it
the
was
time.
like, well, what was it
Very
like?
normal. It's okay.
Maybe you didn't like the actual like
Yeah.
workout, quote unquote, like training in the gym, but you really enjoyed the sport. Like that's what you enjoyed. Well, cool, then join a league, join a sand volleyball
It's
recreational
crazy.
league.
I
Like
got in
there's
my
so many ways to do it.
we got into our late 20s, and like all of a sudden I'm talking to people like, yeah, I'm doing this on this day and this on this day, and like they can. I think those recreational leagues I think have been blown
Yeah.
up, and they might have been like already popular. I just didn't hear about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like those have gotten really big. Even Meg like does bowling. Like even Meg does like kickball. Like does she really? I don't, a lot of that, I think a lot of that is like community based as well. It's like you have a
Mm-hmm.
certain
Mm-hmm.
group of people that you meet up
That's
with,
a huge component of
but
it.
it's like and she still works out pretty routinely. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, if you're a former athlete, or like if you just maybe you miss that play aspect to it, that can be part of it. However, let's say you haven't worked out or done any fitness routine in 10 years, that can be very intimidating. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
join a rec softball league or a rec whatever league or whatever it is. That can be very intimidating, especially if you're not confident in your body. So
Well, that's yeah, and there is a little disclaimer there too. I'm not saying like just go straight from couch to like kickball per
nah,
se or something.
super competitive kickball
Yeah,
league.
like because then if if you're a very deconditioned individual at that point, like that you're running the risk of like injury and you're over just overexerting yourself a little bit too much too soon, and what your body is actually like capable of or can handle. So yeah, maybe kind of tread into those waters a little bit depending upon what that activity is going to be. Um, but yeah, there's definitely going to be something out there that's you're going to enjoy. Now, if let's say you're one of those people also right now, being like, well, yeah, I've been doing like my recreational volleyball club for the last 5 years, and we play 3 times a week. I'm like, okay, you're probably doing something, but if you still haven't like reached your health and fitness goals, then yeah, we might have to supplement or switch it up a little bit. But if we're just talking activity, do you enjoy what your body is capable of in this moment? If so, cool, then awesome. Whatever activity that you are doing is probably working, like continue to do that. But if all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I actually would like to be able to hike a little bit further, like I find myself getting tuckered out after like only a mile, or the elevation or the activities that you want to do with your kids, yeah, then we probably have to switch some things around a little bit in terms of your actual fitness routine. Um, you know, but it's determining, yeah, what are those activities going to be? How do we train for it? What are you willing to put time, energy, effort, and work into? Um, yeah.
Like you said, I mean, and that goal part is really important that you brought up because, like you said, maybe it is your goal to do your routine. Like just do your 3 days of your volleyball league.
Yeah. It's like
Like
if you're doing it and you're happy
yeah,
with your body and what it can do, it's like awesome.
you
Then
don't need to have a fucking goal.
no.
Fuck shit. Sorry,
Like
sorry. Look,
yeah, it's like if you or it's like if you just want to do like the recreational
yeah,
softball league and you're like you like doing that because you cool, I get to hit a couple dingers and maybe throw down a couple
dingers.
couple brews like while I'm at
Yeah,
it. But if now you're looking at yourself, you're like, oh gosh, but I don't want to also have this extra weight and I want to do well. All right, then the softball is probably not working then. Like it's not enough for what you want to do.
if that's what if you're using that game to have a goal in that sense, then yeah, if you're doing that like you said because you enjoy it and you don't really have other goals, yeah,
Yeah.
cool, awesome. Like that's awesome. I think again we're looking at like if like the subject matter I guess of this episode would be like if let's say you don't enjoy fitness, you don't have to. You know what I mean? I think again, are you going to stay more consistent with it if you have an intrinsic motivation behind it? Yes, but like if you want to have like a general baseline aerobic fitness and be able to do like squats and lunges and like whatever because you want to be able to do other things outside of it, like
Hmm.
play in these leagues or go hiking or like do water sports, like people doing like whatever that is. That's great. You don't have to enjoy fitness, but it is important to have that fitness routine because that's going to allow you that's going to afford you the freedom to choose those other things.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because what you want to get into, what like, I guess I feel like it's a polarizing take. Okay, what you don't have to do this, of course, but I think like let's say what in my head I think I don't want to get to a situation where the choice is not if I want to do it, it's if I can do it. Like, I don't want to be in a
Yeah.
situation where, like, man, I really want to, let's say, do this 10-mile hike, or let's say this thing we're doing in fucking October, Corey,
Yeah.
this damn trail run that you made me sign up for. I don't want to get to a point where it's like, um, I want to be able to say, hey, I want to do this, and therefore I will be doing it.
Hmm.
I don't want to get to a point in my physical fitness ever where it's like, I want to do this, but I can't,
It's really
or
funny
I
that
feel like I can't.
it's funny that you bring that up because for many years now, and anybody who gets into their health and fitness and has done it for several years, and for people that are out there like decades, um, your fitness methodology and how you approach your health and fitness is going to change multiple times. And like how I would have trained myself or athletes that I worked with 5 years ago versus today would be very different. And your, again, methodology is going to alter and change. But with what you just said, it kind of brought me back to when I was initially thinking about, for my own purposes, what are my goals? Like, what do I want my body to be able to do? And it just reminded me, I would say that exact phrase. Like, I want to have a body that I never want to be able to say that I can't do something. Like if someone was to like, hey, let's go for a 10-mile run. I'm like, I can do that. Hey, do you want to go do some like gymnastic
Or
stuff?
you can train for it like to get
Yeah.
to a point. And maybe not like
Yeah.
right out of the gate 10 miles,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah.
But it's like I know like I can do that. It's like, hey, you can pick up this heavy thing. It's like, yeah, I can do that. Like, hey, can you walk on your hands? Like, yeah, I can do that. Can you squat on one leg? Yes, I can do that. I'd never wanted to look at something and be like, no, I like my body is physically incapable to do that because of a mobility thing that I haven't addressed. Maybe it's a stability thing, a strength thing. Um, like if I'm going, like I can't imagine what that would feel like as a human being to like you're with like family or you're with friends and they're like, hey, let's go on a hike to Sedona, and they're sitting there having like that inner turmoil and struggle and just like fear like, oh my god, I can't do that. Like, how do you think that person feels? Like, fuck that. Never want to like experience that. Not be able to keep up with mom, dad, your friends, your brothers, your sisters, your son, your daughter, your grandkid. Like to feel as though your body is now incapable. And again, it's coming for all of us at some point, right? Your body's breaking down, but I'm going to push that shit off as long as possible. Like, that's the goal.
And I
Like,
say like if you're listening to this and that is like you, if you're thinking to yourself that like you have felt that way in the past or like you do feel that way currently, like you're not alone. I want that to be really, really apparent that like it's like there's nothing wrong with you. You haven't done anything wrong. Like you're not behind the eight ball. There's always something you can do
Start wherever you
to
are
to
at.
change to change your fitness level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think me and Kory are coming from a place of like it's tough because like obviously we were both at a certain level of fitness and we've been exercising for probably if not half our lives, more than that. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we've been working out probably.
Some form,
Yeah, well,
some
actually, yeah.
form.
So, so I know
For
that sometimes
kids,
it's
yeah.
tough to have that relation, but at the same time, if that's you, like you know that you are not alone, you have done nothing wrong to this point, but you can always improve your fitness level. And if you don't know where to start, like the best way to start is just walking. We've talked about that before as
Oh
well.
God, yeah.
But definitely like seek out that help and like that you will be able to find that help.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me personally, I'm very service oriented. Like people say, like, oh, if you're a giver, like make sure you're always dating a giver or something like that. And I think Meg and I are the same way. But for me, a lot of times, I love being able to help carry things for like let's say like
Mm.
we're going to like I don't know, let's say we're fucking going to like you're going on vacation, you can like help carry Michaela's things. Not she needs you to because she's jacked, but like that is like a service thing. That is like I want to be able to do this. If we need to get something done in a certain way or like be able to help someone move things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't want to help anybody move, but if you're going to ask me to help you move, I'll
Dude,
probably
that's
do it still.
oh yeah.
But I want to be able to do those things, right? I want to be able to say no, but but if I do say yes, I want to be able to say, okay, yeah, that's cool, I can help, right?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
can do this or that, and I think
Mm-hmm.
like having the like that's a very underrated feeling of confidence when someone asks you to do something like that and you don't have to think about can I, it's like yeah, sure,
Yeah.
or like you can think about whether you want to or
Yeah,
not,
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but you think as far as your physical capability you're like there's no question.
Mm-hmm.
um and Meg works in occupational therapy. She works in a field where she does have to lift heavy things quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that she loves that feeling of like they're doing a lift test for a potential for a client that wants to go back into work.
Mm.
And they do the lift test and then like she just picks it up and fucking puts it back like 70 pounds, whatever that is.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people. And so just having that confidence, I think for me it's like very service oriented where it's like I want to be able to do anything in a drop of a hat if it helps someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like my parents are in their 70s and like I want to be able to. I think they've asked me before, like, oh, Kory, can you come over and like my mom will ask me, can I help my dad move something?
Yeah.
And then I come over and move it myself, and I'm like,
It's
chill,
I
yeah. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, that's the kind of feeling that I want,
well, it was that same feeling you had when I was like a little boy and it would be you're going to get loads of firewood and then you just have your two arms out in front of you and your dad sitting there loading up just log after log after log and just sitting there like, well, hey, how many can you hold? I'm like, add another one, like just to see, and just like know that, oh, look what I can do, like look at what my body can do, like, oh, you're so strong. And that's a message like that strong has to be shout out for boys and women, especially young girls, where it's like, hey, you're strong, like take empowerment within your body. Like that is so incredibly important. And like that again, that feeling of accomplishment, like, yes, you are strong. You can pick that up. Like I just had one of the most beautiful moments with a member just a couple weeks ago, and it was in our babes class. Older ladies generally in this class. We're talking like honestly
we're
though,
talking
like
AARP or what,
60,
like silver
60,
sneakers or
70,
okay,
80,
yeah.
80
Wow.
plus years old.
Yeah.
And it was a deadlift day. A real quick story here. And again, fairly new at this location, getting to know everybody. And we start going through the deadlifts and I'm looking over at her and it looks like she's kind of just like petering out maybe around like 60 pounds. I'm just checking it out and be like, hey, that looked really good, give her a couple little points of performance and whatnot, but just some encouragement, like, hey, I bet, you bump that up easy, another 20 pounds. And she just kind of looks at me. She's like, wait, you really think so? It's like, yeah, like that, you flew through that. It looked great. Like, and just to see all of a sudden this little glint and gleam like in her eye where she's like, she felt kind of inspired, like, oh, you think I can do more? I'm like, yes. And eventually ended up like working her way up to where she hit 100-pound deadlift. And again, this lady is, I want to say like she's in her 80s. And that was a all-time PR for her. She never even had come anywhere close to hitting that like number before. Not to again, she has the ability, clearly she just did it and like moved it really well, but to just watch her fire just light like that, and for all of the women around her to support her when she did that. And again, this is a lady who started exercising and working out um you know fairly recently. It's like, that is so cool to be able to, at that point, like she deadlifted, picked up 100 pounds off the floor. It's like, oh my gosh, yes. So important that, yeah, regardless of where you're at, to just start somewhere, whether that's walking, getting into a gym. My goodness. But yeah, it was such a beautiful moment. I was so grateful to be able to just like have those experiences. And I know you as a coach as well, like that countless that you can think back to where you really touched someone and had like an impact there, and to see someone recognize how capable they are, you to assist them in that endeavor, is like, I think, one of the most beautiful experiences.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, Ethel fucking killing it with that deadlift right there. So Kory, I think that's a good place to wrap up, man. We've probably been recording for a little bit over an hour now. Tell me a little about what would be your final thoughts on the matter, and just kind of your final thoughts in general of anything we talked about today, and what would you say to the people out there listening right now?
I would say the next time that you are engaging in just one of those daily activities, or maybe it's a trip like I was on in Sedona, just being cognizant of what your body is capable of. Like, just tomorrow, let's just start there. Tomorrow, or the rest of this afternoon, what are the things that you're grateful for that your body can currently do? Maybe it's like picking up your newborn baby and you have the strength to be able to do that right now. Maybe it's being able to move that patio furniture that you're finally getting out ready for the spring, and you have the strength to be able to do it. The mobility that you have to be able to sit down and do a squat or lunge or get off the toilet. Like, there is one day, it's coming for every single one of us, that your body's going to start to break down. It's not going to be capable of what it is right now in this moment. And if you're really happy with that, then awesome. You're probably putting some time and some work and some energy into being able to do those things that your body is capable of right now, and keep that up. If you're not, this is a little sign right now that you still can do something about it, regardless of where you're at. Because we all want to be able to function. We all want to be able to live our best version of our lives and do the activities that we want to do with the loved ones that we want to be able to do it with for as long as we possibly can. And health and fitness and prioritizing that is going to be one of the single best investments you could ever make. It's the best health insurance you could possibly ever buy. So if you haven't started prioritizing it, this would be your little sign.
Let's go. I'm amped up now. Well, our friends, the links to your that wasn't English.
Sounded like Gary. Like SpongeBob. Wasn't it Mao or Meow?
Can you all believe that I talk for a living? I talk for a living. That's all group fitness really is.
No.
No. Thanks, friends. Thanks for listening to the Average Bros Gym podcast. Yeah, you can follow us on a variety of social media outlets. Instagram, probably the one we post on the most. Facebook as well, and X. Although honestly, I've kind of given up on X. I feel like in a way.
Twitter.
I don't know. Yeah, Twitter, whatever. It's fine.
Did you see he got overtaken by Mark Zuckerberg for the most richest person in the world thing?
Really could not care less.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a news report.
Yeah, we just take all this money and just distribute it to I don't know, the entire world.
I don't know, the thing that this planet.
Well, how many? If you took how many? Well, whatever. I'm not. That's.
Are we wearing the same Lululemon pants?
Yeah, we are. So you can follow us on all those handles. Instagram at Average Bros Gym Podcast, and then on YouTube as well. Check us out there, Average Bros Gym Podcast YouTube channel. And of course, we are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. As always, y'all, thank you for listening. We've really appreciated it, all the support so far. It's been amazing. So thank you all so much. And give us a shout. Email us at averagebrosgympodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your ideas for the show, hear your ideas on what subjects you want to listen to, and just any questions you may have. Email us there and let us know. Otherwise, y'all, how much money does Elon Musk have?
It was 158 billion or something.
Billion? Jesus.
189 billion, and then current population 7.9 billion. So then I did that 189 divided by 7.9, and I got 23.9, but I don't know how much that is in terms of what would that be?
You could give everybody, just 20.
Isn't that just $23?
$23?
Yeah, is that $23?
Yeah.
Everyone gets 24.
Everybody on Earth.
Everyone on Elon Musk could just be like, yo,
It's $23.
here's a. That's crazy.
That's enough for one small DoorDash order.
Is it? It's like
Yeah.
a Big Mac at McDonald's now. I remember.
No, it's like $4.
Is that what it is?
All right, y'all. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.